Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. We are back, bigger, better, talking UFC in 23.
Oh, look at it. He's rhyming off the bat.
I just, when I was talking about 23 in UFC, it popped into my head when I was walking back from just having that wee.
Oh,
I'm
God,
rhyming into this year, mate. I'm rhyming. How are you, Blake Harrison?
The fact that didn't just come off the top of your head and you actually did put some thought into it and went with it. UFC in 23. Wow, that is, yes, pathetic. Yeah. Yes, so we are back. When you say bigger and better, I think you mean more full of winter viruses, more prone to coughing and feeling sorry for ourselves. And I mean, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Anyway, have you avoided all the winter virus stuff?
No, I got it, but my missus got it really bad. She was wiped out and like for a good week. But I sort of I had it for about 3 days, but nowhere near like what people have had it. And I know old Paulie Spindly boy over there had a rough time of it, didn't he?
Well, we were just talking about the fact that I look so fucking pale. I wanted to say I look like I'm in a vampire. I'm in like the new Twilight series, and you were just like, no, you just look like a reanimated corpse, just a corpse, dead man. Yeah, but no, I got it on the 23rd. Still not shaking it. It's like I'm much better, but I'm still coughing and stuff, and at night, like waking up my wife and the kids just from coughing so loudly. So it's not been great. And I spoke to my brother earlier, and he said he had it for about 3 weeks, and he's got like tattoos and like he's like hard.
Yeah,
he's like a man.
Yeah.
Whereas as you've pointed out, I'm spindly little. Feeling sorry for himself, man flu Blake. So I'm definitely getting out of this for about 4 or 5 weeks. So yeah, there you go. I hope if you're listening that you've avoided all the horrible winter viruses, or if you haven't, please join me. Feel sorry for yourself. You know, it's rubbish. And anyone that tells you to get over it, or calls it man flu or whatever, come to me, DM me. And I'll say, don't worry about it, mate. I feel your pain. It's all good. We're in this together, the winter virus crew. And we'll get through this. And we'll get through this by listening to some predictions on who's going to be the UFC champs in 2020, at the end of 2023.
Yeah. So, we should apologise, but obviously we haven't got to apologise. You was poorly and it was Christmas. So, we skipped a week. We had a week off over Christmas, and but we was going to do like a kind of retrospective look back, but by the time we've got round to everybody feeling fit and healthy to record, kind of every other kind of website and blog and such have all done their best of the year. So it was like, right, well, look, what we're going to do is I've not done it. But Blake has gone back to this time last year where we made our predictions as how we thought 2022 was going to end with champions and what was going to happen throughout the year. So Blake's going to reference that as we look ahead to 2023 and the fights that we think are going to happen or might happen or we'd like to see happen. And ultimately who we think will finish the year of 2023 with that strap.
Yep. All right. So, do you want me to just start it off then?
Yeah. So we're going to start with what? Flyweights?
I was thinking the way I've laid it out is I've sort of started with women's featherweights. I think I sort of just followed the path of what we did last year.
Oh, we started with
we started with women's featherweights. We went down to women's strawweights. Then we went from men's flyweights up to men's heavyweights.
Right. Okay.
So that is what I think we could do again. If you didn't listen to our previous episode, I will be bringing this up, and it's painful for me to bring up the previous episode that we did our predictions in around this time last year. It's painful for me because it reads a lot better for Stu Whiffin than it does for me. It does, yeah. You see, you haven't listened to it, so you've forgotten all about it. But I mean, look, we spoke about women's featherweight because it's a non-division.
Can I just say, I've not done any prep for women's featherweights for this year.
I don't think you really need to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a nothing division. You look at the UFC website, and it's still where every other division has a top 15. Women's featherweight is just a picture of Amanda Nunes holding a couple of belts.
Yeah.
So it's not really a division. We both predicted that the division would become vacant and the title would become vacant. And we were both wrong. Both of us, Nunes. Actually, I'm glad I reread this quickly out of the corner of my eye. So, because this is good reading for you overall, I'm going to have to point out some of the moments where you didn't do so well, Stu Whiffin.
Go on.
So, I predicted actually that the division would be vacant, and I was wrong. Do you know what you did, Stu Whiffin?
Did I say they were going to scrap it?
No, you went proper fence sitting Whiffin. What all the people hate about you, Whiffin, you went proper fence sitting Whiffin. And I was like, after listening to the last episode and hearing how well you did on some of your predictions, I was like, there's no way I'm letting him get away with a fence sit.
Yeah.
So
look how fucking excited and smug you are.
Yeah,
about
I know.
I'm banking this, mate. He's coming back at you. I'm telling you.
Mate, this is one of my only wins of this chat we're going to have. So I'm taking everything I can get. I'm pulling every little bit out that you might have got wrong, even if your prediction was right.
Right.
So you said, oh, there might be no belt, or she regains a bantamweight and keeps a featherweight, but I don't know. And you proper fence that. Fence that. So I'm giving you nothing. You're getting no points for fence sit Whiffin.
Okay.
And I think the people will appreciate that of me.
Yeah. I think they'll appreciate your impression of my voice as well. You can have a point for that.
But yeah, so really none of us get points for that. You sort of you half predicted correctly, but you fenced that and gave me about 2 or 3 answers, so you're getting nothing for that.
But like the belt itself, it's like there's no winners, really, is there?
There's no winners. There is no winners. You're absolutely right. In 2023, come December 31st, 2023, rather than it being vacant, I'm going to say that Nunes is still technically the featherweight champ.
Yeah.
But I can see it being that she's a featherweight champ, having not defended it again.
I think so.
I haven't looked up when she last defended the belt. Did she defend the belt in 2022? No. I don't know that she did. It was Pena twice, wasn't it? She lost it, then she won it back. So, I mean, it's already been over a year since she's defended the belt, as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
I just think that rolls on. I think they like having her as a 2-weight champion. If she loses the bantamweight belt and doesn't have it back or retires or anything like that, then obviously I think featherweight's just scrapped. I think it's just there for the picture, for Nunes to have 2 belts. It looks good to have a double champ. It just keeps the kind of thing of Nunes being the GOAT and one of the best in the world. So I think that's all it is. So I predict Nunes still champion at the end of 2023. And I think you're agreeing with me.
I agree with you.
Do you want to add anything else to fence it? Is there anything else like you agree with me, but also you never know if this happens? What if Kayla Harrison comes over? Blah, blah, blah.
Should we talk about bantamweights?
All right, let's do that then. No more fence sitting with. We both, again, a lot of our predictions, we actually predicted the same thing.
Okay.
And we both went for Valentina Shevchenko to be the bantamweight champion. I think this was, this was post Pena winning the belt initially. Mm-hmm. The rematch hadn't been booked yet, but obviously it was the likely thing to happen. And I think we were both thinking if Pena wins, Valentina steps up and smashes her. And if Nunes wins, then they might finally make that trilogy fight between Valentina and Nunes. It's probably the biggest women's fight you can make. But unfortunately, the belt was won back by Nunes, and that was it. There was no more bantamweight title fights. So yeah, we missed out on that. That didn't happen for us. It was very inactive division in terms of like the title picture, and I think maybe in general as well. Just one title fight for the whole year, and Nunes won the belt back off Pena. How do you see 2023 going for the women's bantamweight division?
I think we're going to see some exciting stuff from Ketlen Vieira. I think she beats Pennington in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
I think Holly beats. She's fighting Yana, isn't she?
Kunitskaya.
Yep. You said it, not me. In March, I think Holly wins that. I think we're going to see Nunes Shevchenko this year.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, and I think that's going to happen maybe mid-year. By then, I think Ketlen Vieira does something special and gets the title shot. I think she's looking decent. Pena, I think Vieira beats Pena.
Is that booked?
That is not booked, I don't think.
No.
No,
Are you just saying that hypothetically?
Yeah. Vieira, I think Vieira beats Pennington in a couple of weeks. And then I think, I don't think Pena gets another crack at Nunes now. They've done the 2 fights. I think Nunes Shevchenko happens, and maybe Vieira beats Pena, and then she gets the title shot, maybe beginning of next year against Nunes or Shevchenko, whoever wins. How do you see it?
So I don't think they're going to make Valentina Shevchenko versus Nunes. I would like to see it happen. I think that'd be a great fight. I'd love to see that happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Nunes is likely to either fight Vieira, because I also see Vieira beating Pennington, or a rematch against Pena. Make that trilogy fight. It's still like a biggish fight because they're 1-1. And I just don't think, when you look at that division, Pena, Vieira, Arena Aldana is another one.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Nunes' head is in the right place, I don't think any of them hold a candle to Nunes. So I am going with Nunes retaining the belt for the whole year.
Okay, I think Nunes finishes the year with a belt as well.
I thought you were going Vieira.
No. I said I said Nunes will fight Shevchenko. I think she'll beat Shevchenko and retain the belt. And I think at that point, Vieira would have beaten Pennington, Pena, and will get the shot early 24.
And do you think she might win that?
I don't know. She looks fucking terrifying, but
yeah,
you got to go something to beat the goat.
Yeah. You said you don't know, so you sitting on the fence on that one.
Prick.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So we're both going Nunes. I felt like you were going to go Vieira there and go a bit left field or whatever, but you're copying me. You're going Nunes. Good for you. Good for you.
You tell me how you see the flyweights going.
Flyweights. So last time around, we both picked Valentina, and we were both correct. Yay!
Yeah.
Point each for us. Our first points. So I think I'll be hard pushed to go against Valentina again. I do think there's bigger challenges for her now than what they have been previously. Obviously, things got a bit dicey for her when she fought Tyler Santos. She's now booked to fight Erin Blanchfield in February. That's a really interesting fight for me, because I originally, before I realized that fight was booked, I was thinking to myself, well, I think Valentina probably beats Santos if there's a rematch.
Valentina is fighting Erin Blanchfield.
No. Sorry, Tyler Santos.
Right, I was thinking
fighting Erin Blanchfield. Right, I thought I said that. Maybe I didn't. So no, I'm picking Valentina to stay the champ. But obviously things got dicey for her when she fought Santos. That was like the most difficult fight she's probably had at flyweight.
Yeah.
Santos is now booked to fight Erin Blanchfield. Erin Blanchfield was ranked about 10th. Santos is ranked 2.
2, yeah.
Personally, I was thinking to myself, Valentina beats Santos. Valentina probably beats Manon Fiorot, who I think is injured at the moment, but is probably the number 1 in line for the shot if she can come back from injury quickly enough. So I see Valentina staying the champ. And then 2024, I was thinking maybe Blanchfield, after a few wins and a bit of growth, because she's still young. I think she's only about 23, 24, could really cause Valentina problems. However, I didn't realize this fight was booked between Santos and Blanchfield. So now I'm thinking, well, if Blanchfield beats Santos, she could go straight into a title shot this year. And all I worry about is that too much too soon? And I'm wondering if, for Blanchfield long term, a loss against Santos could actually do her the world of good, because she might lose against Santos, not get thrown straight in with Valentina when she's not quite ready for it. And then she then comes back and fights 2 or 3 more times and then does eventually get a shot in, say, 2024 or something. But I'm just worried now that we might have a situation where if Blanchfield does beat Santos and she's ranked 2nd, she could fight Valentina this year. And I'd have to lean Valentina because I think that Blanchfield is too young and inexperienced. But I do think that Blanchfield has a good skill set to give Valentina a lot of problems. I want her to develop a little bit more. I don't think she's ready for that shot yet. As I say, I do think that if Santos wins and she gets a shot, I think Valentina can deal with her. I think Valentina can deal with Manon Fiorot, who is, I think, the number 1 ranked at the moment, maybe. So, yeah, you've got Alexa Grosso floating about there as well. But, yeah, that's it. So, overall, I'm going Valentina Shevchenko to remain the champ. But I do think there's a possibility in 2024 that Erin Blanchfield causes Valentina some problems.
You don't see Chookagian featuring in any of this?
I don't think so, no. I know that she gets wins, and I can't remember what was her last fight. Who did she fight in her last fight?
She lost to Fiorot, didn't she?
Yeah, nah. Then no, she's not going to feature at all, because for a long time she was getting good. I don't know if she's lost once or maybe even twice to Valentina now. She was kind of in that Robert Whittaker position, wasn't she?
She lost to Andrade as well, and Jessica Rai and Shevchenko. And Liz Carmouche.
But I think she went on a good run of solid wins and was like in that Whittaker position of like gatekeeper, where she was like the 2nd best in the division for a long time. She just couldn't match Shevchenko. And yeah, I just don't see it. She's not got the most exciting style ever. She got a lot of decisions, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I can't see Chookagian featuring much. I think it's going to be Fiorot if she comes back from injury quick enough. The winner of Santos Blanchfield has probably got a really good chance of getting a title shot, particularly if it's Santos, but either of them, because they'll be ranked number 2. So I think that's where the title will be defended, is Fiorot and Santos Blanchfield winner.
Arujo versus Ribas as well, UFC 285. Yep. I mean, I don't think that's going to have huge implications on the title contention. Do you?
No, I mean, Ribas is kind of, is she way back in like 10th or something like that? I think the thing is, that title, Valentina's usually a very active champion, but I think she was a bit less active last year. I think she'll probably be less active this year as well. I can see the title being defended a maximum of maybe 2 times. I don't think she's booked to defend the belt anytime soon, and we've got a lot of pay-per-views kind of like booked up at the moment until like March or something. So maybe her first title defense isn't till somewhere like April, unless I'm wrong. I don't know if you're looking at stuff right now and Valentina's got a fight booked, but I don't think she does. So with Fiorot injured and probably being the number 1 contender, that fight maybe doesn't happen till the 2nd quarter of the year, and then she maybe fights again in the 4th quarter of the year against the Santos Blanchfield winner. And I think she's the favorite in all of those fights. I know Santos, was a tough test for her, but I think Valentina's also the type of fighter that in a rematch would be even stronger, because I think she's got a good fight IQ and she'll know a bit more what you're about. And yeah, I can see her doing bits. So I'm sticking with Valentina.
Yeah, likewise. I think this is a more interesting division. I think strawweight. I think there's, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say it now. Zhang finishes the year with that strap. I don't see anyone beating her. I really don't. I think she's fantastic. What was the thoughts last year, Blake?
So, just to spoiler alert, I'm going the same. So we're both picking Zhang. So I think we've basically, with all the women's divisions, we've picked exactly the same things. However, last year, and it pains me to say it, Stu Whiffin, not only did you call this correctly and you picked Zhang to be the champion and I picked Rose, but you did it in quite spectacular fashion. So, I mean, caveat, you did say that Esparza would ragdoll Rose. Let's just pretend you didn't say that for a second. But what you did say was that Esparza would beat Rose, and in her first title defense, she'd fight Zhang, and Zhang would obliterate her. And you pretty much nailed that spot on. So well done to you, mate. That is that you've absolutely nailed that. Well done.
More importantly, what bollocks did you come up with then?
Oh, I don't know. I just said Rose on it. I went for Rose. I was wrong. I didn't realize that she'd have the worst fight in UFC history.
I mean, no one would have predicted that, would they?
No, Jesus Christ. What a terrible, terrible fight. And it feels like, had she just put her foot on the gas just a little bit,
for a minute of one round.
That fight was proper up for grabs from either of them. And it went to some split decision where you're just like, I'm not going to argue with this split decision at all. There's been some contentious decisions that people haven't liked over the course of the year, particularly towards the end of the year. But that one, I mean, as if anyone gave a shit at the end of it. I mean, Jesus, that was such a bad fight.
Really, really bad.
2023.
Right.
So we're both going Zhang. We've both said that. Mm-hmm. Why are you going Zhang, and how do you see the year playing out for her?
I don't see anyone being able to beat her. I think she's just too good for that division. I'm taking nothing away from that head kick that Rose threw, which was phenomenal. But I don't think I think that won't happen again. And I think Zhang's too strong for Rose. I think she's too strong for most people in that division. I mean, Jessica Andrade hits hard. I think Andrade absolutely obliterates. Is this at strawweight? I'm trying to think. What weight is she fighting Lauren Murphy?
Well, that's the thing. So I agree with you. So the Lauren Murphy Jessica Andrade fight is up at flyweight.
Right.
That's happening soon. I can't remember when that is.
That's at 283.
But I think Andrade's best chance of a title shot is probably down at strawweight.
Yeah.
Because she's lost to Valentina recently. I know she lost to Zhang, but that was a while ago. I think she's 1-1 with Rose, and I'd love to see that third fight, I have to say. So, and in that second fight with Rose, the 3-round fight, it looked like she was coming back really strong and that Rose was struggling a little bit. So yeah, if Andrade beats Murphy, she could pop down and get a title shot for sure. That could be one of the most interesting fights, Andrade versus Zhang Weili again. And I know the first fight was over so quickly, but I think that could actually be a really interesting fight. Would Rose jump straight into a title shot? I mean, she's certainly got a claim to it with 2 wins over Zhang. And I think Zhang would probably want to get that fight back because that second fight was super close and she'd probably want to right the wrong. But I can see more something like Amanda Lemos getting a title shot.
I thought Lemos maybe versus Rose. And I thought that could happen. I mean,
I think they're the ones up for title shot. I think it's going to be Zhang versus either Rose, Lemos, or maybe Andrade. And I think you could book any 3 of those fights and people would be pretty happy with it. But I think Zhang beats all of them.
And Carla Esparza, she's number 1.
Is she?
Well, I mean...
Yeah, she is, but is she? You know what I mean, mate? Yeah, it's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I was calling for Carla Esparza to get her title shot long before she got it, and long before a lot of other people were calling for that shot. She deserved it. She put in some great performances. The way she dealt with Yan Janan was absolutely fantastic.
Mhm.
She also got one or two split decisions, maybe against Marina Rodriguez, that maybe I was like, oh, did she really win that fight? But ultimately, I was calling for Esparza to get that fight. The Rose fight put such a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And then on top of that, she got, as you pointed out and predicted, obliterated by Zhang. And it's what we were all saying before that fight. Everyone before that fight was saying, if you had to bet on one fight on this card, bet on Zhang to beat Esparza. And she did. So, yeah, I don't really see a way back for Esparza. She's not the most fan-friendly fighter. She's not got a huge fan base, particularly because of how that fight with Rose went down. I think Esparza needs to put together like a 3, 4, 5 fight win streak before she gets to a belt again. And who's she going to do that against? I mean, against Rose? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to rebook that fight anyway.
That's never going to happen, is it?
No. You know, there's Lemos, there's Andrade, as we've mentioned. That she could rematch Marina Rodriguez. And I think Rodriguez won that fight originally.
Does anyone want to see any of these fights?
Not massively, and that's the problem. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for Carla Esparza. She's a 2-time champion.
The first ever champion.
First ever flyweight champion. Strawweight champion. Sorry. And I think she should be respected, and she's got great wrestling acumen. She's very, very good. But she's not in there with the fans. She's not probably in there with the UFC brass massively because of her fight style and the way that Rose fight went. I think she'd have to work really hard to get to a title shot again. And I wonder if maybe she's past it a bit. I don't know how old she is, but I think she's getting up there in age. And she got married recently as well. Maybe she's going to be thinking, do you know what? I've had enough of this. And who can blame her? She's a Hall of Famer, 2-time champion.
Yeah.
You know, that goes down really well in the record books. So, yeah, I can't imagine it doing too much for Esparza there. But we're both going Zhang.
Right. Okay. So are we going to talk about the little fellas? We're going to talk about the flyweights.
Let's talk about the flyweights. I think this is a tricky one, and I think we're going to pick different people. I'm going to put that out there. That's my prediction. Is we're picking different people, but we'll see.
I'm going to say Figgy.
You're going Figgy. All right. Why are you? Firstly, last year we both picked Moreno to beat Figgy and be the champ. We were both wrong.
Yeah.
So, but you're now going with Figgy to retain the belt throughout the course of the year.
I think he beats
How
Moreno.
does that happen and why?
I think he beats Moreno. And I don't want to see him beat Moreno. I'd love to see Moreno win. I think he beats Moreno, and I think he beats Pandoja this year. And then I think by the time it comes to maybe February 24, we might see a little Brit making some noise in that title contention.
I think 2024. The little Brit you're talking about is Mohamed Bakayev. I think that's a solid prediction. 2024, Mohamed Bakayev. I don't think he will get a shot this year. I'm going different. I think this is a really hard division to predict. I think, they are a draw and 1-1, the Moreno and Figueiredo. We got the Tetralogy coming up. Is it this month? This month, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really excited for that. Every single one of their fights has been absolutely fantastic.
More importantly, tetralogy.
Yes, mate. Not a quadrology. The official term for a series of 4, I don't know, tetralogy.
Fucking hell.
There you go. Someone's been Googling. Tetralogy. There you go, folks. Not just MMA chat here. Broaden your mind, broaden your vocabulary.
It's a podcast and an education.
There it is. God, come on. Why aren't we winning awards? Why ain't that going on? Come on. So yeah. If Figgy wins, and I genuinely don't know which way to go with Moreno Figueiredo.
Mm-hmm.
Things that worry me about Figgy is he's 35 now.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting up to an age. Moreno's 29. Younger, the smaller weight classes.
Yeah.
Age is a big factor. You lose that pace, you lose that cardio.
Speed.
Also, yeah, all of that stuff. You lose all of that, and things become a problem for you because it's father time waits for no one. And I just feel that could play a factor, if not in this fight, then in whoever Figueiredo fights in his next fight. And I think he should get 2 title defenses in because he's fighting in January. The other thing is he struggles with the weight cut. So I don't think he'll get more than 2 in. I think it'll be January and then maybe like November or something because he does struggle with the weight cut a little bit, Figueiredo. Moreno, on the other hand, I think could defend his belt a little bit more. Pantoja and Mateus Nicolau are the ones to look at outside of Figueiredo and Moreno. Nicolau ranked 5th on a 4-fight UFC win streak, and Pantoja ranked 2, I think, and on a 3-fight UFC win streak. I think those two against each other makes a really good number 1 contender fight. The winner of that, I think, would be Pantoja, but Nicolau looks fantastic at the moment. I would lean Pantoja. If Moreno beats Figueiredo, Pantoja already has 2 wins over Moreno. Granted, it was a long time ago. It would be nearly 5 years ago by the time these two would step in the octagon again. But I just think maybe Pantoja's got Moreno's number. And if Figueiredo fights Pantoja, again, Figueiredo be pushing 36. And so I'm going a little bit out there and going, my pick for champion of 2023 is going to be Alejandro Pantoja.
Of course, a maverick strike from Harrison
It's
there.
a maverick strike. So I'm going for, I know it's a little bit left field. You're better off picking the current champ or the guy the current champ is booked to fight. So many hurdles have to be jumped for someone outside of that to get the belt. Mm-hmm. But I just thought, I've got a feeling about it and I'm going to go with it and let's see what happens. And I think, again, Pantoja's someone that I think has deserved a shot for a while. He's got big wins. He's a great fighter. He looked fantastic against was it Schnell he last beat? No, or was it Alex Perez? Alex Perez. He last beat. And he absolutely smashed him. He's got 2 finishes as well. He finished Brandon Royval. He finished Perez. So, yeah, he's not the most active of fighters, but I do think he deserves a shot. And if he gets it, I think things could be problems for whoever fights him is going to be having problems with him. So, yep, Pantoja.
Nice. Okay. Bantamweights, obviously the current champ, Aljamain Sterling. How did we predict this one, mate?
So
I can't remember, but I reckon I would have said Peter Yan kept the belt.
We both said Peter Yan. I mean, this was, I think, after the disqualification and the knee.
Yeah.
And before the rematch. And if you look back on that first fight, Peter Yan was smashing 7 shades of crap out of Aljamain Sterling. Sterling had nothing. He had absolutely, I think he come out in that first round, went crazy, maybe won the round, but then Peter Yan just took over. Aljamain looked gassed. Yan was tripping him over for fun. It was just a dominant display from Yan. And if he doesn't throw that illegal knee, Aljamain Sterling is not only never a champion, but I think he's like back of the queue because bantamweight division is absolutely stacked. That knee gave Aljamain the belt, but the rematch showed Aljamain is a champion. He won that fight. Yan had no real good answers for Aljamain's ability to take his back and stay there and do a bit of damage while he was there as well. So I know it wasn't a complete domination. There was back and forths and all that stuff. And Yan did have his moments, but Sterling won that fight. What comes next for Sterling is a difficult one. It looks like there's rumors of Henry Cejudo, which sounds interesting. I don't know if I like it, but it's there. And then the other one after beating Jan is Sean O'Malley, which I think makes a lot of sense because I think Matt O'Malley's probably ranked number 1 or 2 now.
He's ranked number 1.
Well, then that would be the obvious fight to make. And then, so if he fights O'Malley, I think he might defend the belt again against the winner of Chito Vera versus Corey Sandhagen, which, oh man, I cannot wait for that fight. That'll be an absolutely epic fight. If he fights Henry Cejudo first, then I think the winner of that then fights O'Malley. I think there's ways in which Sterling can lose all of those fights, but I'd have to favor him in all of those fights. I think that he's very big for the division. He's very strong. He's got great grappling. All right, he's not got the kind of Cejudo wrestling base, but Cejudo's been out the cage for so long. I don't know what it would be like when he came back. I don't rate Aljamain Sterling's striking very much, so O'Malley can definitely clip him, but I think Sterling's strength and grappling ability could really nullify O'Malley. In terms of if he were to get another defense in, which I don't know that he would, I think he's just going to have 2. But if, for example, things worked out that he fought the winner of Sandhagen versus Chito Vera, I think when you look back on Chito Vera's fight against Frankie Edgar, Frankie is a way smaller fighter than Aljamain Sterling. And Frankie was able to take him down and hold him down in that first round. Vera is unbelievable in terms of his knockout ability, the strikes he landed on Rob Font, on Dominic Cruz, on Frankie Edgar. I mean, he puts people to sleep. He's a dangerous, dangerous man. But I can see Sterling being able to take him down and control him throughout the course of a fight. Oddly, despite his win, easy win, you could say, against former guest of the show, Corey Sandhagen, I think Sandhagen oddly represents his toughest opponent, despite the win against him, because I think Sandhagen's made a lot of improvements. What you see in his fight against Dillashaw, which I thought he won, in his fight against Jan, which was very close, but he did lose.
I think Vero Sandhagen could be one of the fights of the year.
I think it absolutely could be as well. It should be a fantastic fight. But I'm just thinking in terms of Sterling's journey, I think I would favour him against Cejudo because Cejudo's been out of the cage for so long. I'd favour him against O'Malley, and I'd probably favour him against Vera. And he's already got a win over Sandhagen, so you'd maybe be silly not to favour him there. So I find it hard to look past Aljamain Sterling as the champion at the end of the year. What do you think?
Right. So I don't want to consider Cejudo. I just it's dickhead. Like, right. I think Sterling beats O'Malley comfortably. I think Peter Yan probably fights Mirab, maybe. That for the sake of a fight. Mirab's made it clear he doesn't want to fight Sterling.
Yep.
I don't know what he's doing. Don't know why he's in that division fighting the fights he's fighting when he doesn't particularly want to fight the champ. It's weird. I think Chito beats Corey Sandhagen. I like Chito a lot. We've had Corey on. He's fucking amazing. Such a lovely fella. But I think Chito is unstoppable at the moment. I think, for what it's worth, I think Rob Font beats Yanez at 287.
I don't know, man. I am a Yanez fan, and I think that could be a great fight. I think that could be a fight of the year contender.
Rob Font ain't in boring fights.
No, neither is Yanez. Yanez loves to box.
And I see end of the year, Chito Vera beats Aljamain Sterling, and Chito is the champ.
I can see it happening. That man hits like a truck for that division. Kicks and punches. I mean, I can see it happening.
But
I'm going to go Sterling just because I do feel like Vera struggles with the wrestlers.
And I'm going to say one to watch, right? And he's been about for a long time, but I think he's going to have a big year, and that's Ricky Simon. I think Ricky Simon's going to have a big year.
Another former guest of the show.
Another former guest of the show.
I think Simon could have a good year. I think he's a great fighter. He could have a very good year. I think also I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year, I think Sterling remains the champion, but I think going into 2024, I wouldn't be surprised if Sterling vacates and moves up to 145, paving the way for Merab to become champion in the bantamweight division. That is what he's spoken about before. Mm-hmm. So I do think that is a possibility and could happen. Okay. So yeah,
featherweight.
So you're going
Chito Vera.
That's a good pick. I said exciting pick. It's way better than
exciting
me picking
fighter,
Sterling.
Mate. He's a very exciting
fighter.
Right, so we're going to move on to the featherweights. Right,
so
what did we say?
Both went Volkanovski,
and I'm going to go again.
Obviously, I'm repeating that as well. Okay. I think Volk overall is usually a very, very active champion. He's moving up to 155. I can see him being a bit less active. But I think in terms of if he does defend the 145 belt again, because if he beats Islam, I don't think he does defend the 145 belt again, because the better fights are up at 155. You know, there's some big money fights up at 155. Gaethje, Chandler, Poirier. There's some big names there. Charles Oliveira. And I think that'll just do loads for his legacy if he went out and beat one or two of those guys. I mean, if he beats Makhachev, I mean, Jesus Christ, that then he is the man. Yeah. He could that puts him in conversation as like not just featherweight GOAT or pound for pound best at the moment, but just GOAT. Yeah. He's up there. And I do think he's one of the best, if not the best, all-round mixed martial artists in any weight class.
Yeah. For the numbers that he's done on people, and we hark back to it a lot, getting out of that, them like cranks around his neck from Ortega.
Oh,
like you just
unbelievable.
Think, right, that's different level human being. Like how do people do that? And that's what makes him so incredible. And you know, he's going to be having again some high level ragdolling in his next fight, and be amazing to see what he can do. Like, you know,
I wasn't massively up for it when it was first kind of sort of announced. I was like, no, I want Dariush to get the shot. I don't know.
Classic Harrison. Oh no, I don't. In a couple of fucking montages, and like you're on the hype train, aren't you?
I am a little bit, yeah. The more I think about it, the more I think actually maybe Volkanovski, even though he's lighter, Volkanovski could be the best challenge for Islam. You know, he's shorter, low center of gravity, maybe the takedowns be harder. I do think, leading on to lightweight, I think Islam does win against Volkanovski. I think size matters, especially in 5-round fights. We've seen it with Pereira and Adesanya. We've seen it with Jan Blachowicz and Adesanya. Size makes a big difference in MMA, particularly when it comes to the grappling. And Islam's level of grappling, the technique of grappling, along with the fact that he's going to be a fair amount heavier, I think, walking into the cage, will cause problems for Volkanovski. But I do think Volkanovski he's up there. He deserves at the moment to be the pound for pound best on the planet. Whether he's still that after Perth, I don't know. But if he comes back down to 145, if he doesn't beat Islam, if he loses that fight and he comes back down to 145, the winner of Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett, I think he takes them all day long. And I don't know that he would defend the belt again. But if he did, then I'm hoping it's Arnold Allen, because Arnold Allen deserves a shot.
In the meantime, we've got a London card. Are we seeing Arnold Allen, Max Holloway, Arnold Allen, Brian Ortega? Arnold Allen,
been
Korean Zombie.
nothing's been booked yet. I am fearful that they may not do it in the UK. Maybe Arnold won't be ready or something won't be ready. I don't know what's going on with the UK card because I would have thought Arnold would have been announced by now, but he hasn't been. I hope he will be. But I am really worried that they are going to give Arnold Allen Ilia Topuria. And I think I don't want to see it because I think Arnold deserves more. Arnold should easily have been the first name on the sheet when it came to an interim title shot. Not Emmett, not Yair Rodriguez. He could take on either one of them, and I would have gone Emmett. But for him to just be put in this position where he's not even in the interim title shot, but he's on a 10-fight UFC win streak is ridiculous.
He don't take that fight. He don't take that fight against Topuria. Like,
I don't think he's someone that turns fights down.
I think he would. I think that's a fucking stupid move to take that. And like, you know, don't get me wrong. I think Arnold Allen beats him, and I think he could beat him on his feet as well. Like, you see, like
that's a tough fight. I mean, I like to think Arnold beats him, but that's a tough fight.
It is, but I think for fighters like, I mean, we're talking to Topuria. Let's also talk about Evloev as well. Again, who's on good fighter. Fucking, you know, they're ranked 9th and 10th, both on absolute missions, and they're both terrifying. But then you've still got like Chigadze and Calvin Kattar and Korean Zombie all above them that are fights that they could have to get them in that, you know, in a good place in that top 10. I don't think Arnold Allen should be looking that far back down behind himself for them sorts of fights. I would look no further than Korean Zombie if I was Arnold Allen, just because it'd be a great fight. It's a very winnable fight for Arnold Allen. It's a legend in Korean Zombie. That's the fight I want to see. Does Arnold Allen fight Brian Ortega? I think that'd be a great fight.
I'd be more interested in seeing that fight. I'd rather see that fight than definitely Topuria or even Max Holloway. I think Ortega, Arnold Allen would be a cracker. Yeah. I'd really like to see that fight. But yeah, I worry that they're just going to do something like give him Topuria, which I would rather they didn't. But so we're both going Volk at the end of the day.
Yes. Right.
Lightweight.
Okay, let's get them lightweights on here.
So, in terms of last year, Stu Whiffin picked Islam Makhachev. So you were right. Another point to you. I, to be fair, was very torn between Islam and Charles Oliveira. And I did say...
Sorry, you was on the fence, and then at the last minute...
No, I wasn't on the fence. No, I wasn't on the fence. I was torn between the two. And then because you picked Islam, I went, I'll be different, and I'll pick Oliveira. So I think really, if I'd have gone first, I probably would have picked Islam. But I didn't. I picked Charles Oliveira. I picked Charles to beat Gaethje, and then I picked... I thought Charles Islam would be a really competitive fight, and it definitely wasn't. It was very one-sided. So point to you, nothing for me. 2023, I envisage Islam keeping the belt. I think he does beat Volkanovski because I think the size will just play a big factor in that. And then I think he fights Beneil Dariush, maybe, somewhere between October and December of this year. And I think he probably beats Beneil Dariush as well. I think he probably only fight twice. But yeah, that is my kind of major prediction for the lightweight division is Islam Makhachev and Still. What do you think?
I think Volk beats Makhachev.
Oh! He's going big.
I think Dustin Poirier beats Beneil Dariush.
No.
And then Dustin Poirier beats Volk and finishes the year the champ.
No way. What? Oh my God. You have to break this down for me. What the hell? At the start you had me. I was like, he's gone Volk. He's gone big. I love it. I'm all for it. And then you ruined it by saying that, firstly, I think Dariush handles Poirier.
Really?
I really do. Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah,
No
mate. I love
chance.
Dariush is like I think we forget that yes, Poirier is very, very good, but I don't know, like I don't merit the wins over Connor with much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that counts for much. I think the win over Michael Chandler, as fun as it was, I don't think Chandler really is a top 5 lightweight.
I think fight of the year contender this year, I reckon if it happens, will be Chandler versus Fiziev.
I don't know. Maybe. I
Oh,
mean, Michael
it's
Chandler's
all kicking off on the lightweights, isn't it?
I don't know. I'd like to see Fiziev versus Gaethje. That's a fight I'd really like to see. So hang on. So Volk beats Makachev. How does Volk beat Makachev? Because I mean, look, I'd love to see it. Yeah. I'm a big Volk fan. I'm only going Makachev because I think that the size over 5 rounds, Makachev's just going to be able to grab hold of him and kind of smush him.
Yeah.
How does Volk beat Makachev?
I think he clips him ground and pound.
You think Volk, who never really clips anyone at featherweight, clips Makachev at lightweight and ground and pounds him?
Yeah.
What are you smoking? Like what?
Have a look at these listings because I've been pretty good so far, and this is the one I've gone a little bit off menu with, but I think Dustin Poirier finishes the year the champ.
But even just the way you think Volk beats Makachev, I'm like, how do you think that happens? And then Poirier beats Dariush, you think he just outboxes him?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he could outbox him. I just think Dariush's ground game is so slick. I think he's so slick, and I think he could trouble Poirier with the jiu-jitsu. I really do.
And I think
I do think that Poirier could.
His hands would be way too heavy for Volk.
I don't know if he catches Volk so well, but maybe. Do you know what? Yeah, I mean, if this pays off, mate, I don't know. There's got to be something that happens next year that's like me and the fans have got to chip in and buy you something. I don't know, some kind of Nostradamus mug. Yeah. But that would be amazing. I can't see it happening.
No.
But Dustin Poirier, the champion at the end of 2023. There's a lot that's got to happen for that. I mean, he's got to jump. He's got to get past some absolute killers for that to happen. And you think Volk is going to beat Makachev? Yeah. I mean,
I've never seen any
clipped. This is getting clipped and put on the socials. This is like Stu Whiffen's crazy pick.
I have never seen anything that will make me ever doubt Volk.
Fair. Absolutely fair. Have you seen a scale before? Like a weighing scale? Have you seen one of them?
I know, but
that's quite important.
But also, I'm not a fan of Makachev's fight style. It doesn't excite me.
But it's really effective, though, isn't it?
Massively effective. Of course it is. I'm looking at a picture of him with the belt over his shoulder. It's massively effective. You know, we see what he done to Charles quickly. But yeah, I think we're going to see something really exciting in that division, and obviously there's someone else floating about that might come back this year, might not. But let's not talk about him today.
I don't think he'll be coming back in lightweight anyway.
There'll be no belt over his shoulder anyway.
No, right.
What do you see happening for Fiziev?
I don't know, man. There's just this batch of amazing young fighters: Fiziev, Arman Sarukian, Ismagulov, who lost to Sarukian but has now retired. I don't know what's going on there. Guram Kutataladze. There's loads of, particularly Sarukian, I think, and Rafael Fiziev. They just don't get fights because everyone above them is just like, oh, I'm only fighting people that are like Poirier only wants to fight Chandler or Gaethje. and they only want to fight him. And there's just this weird little squatting on your position, like not allowing anyone behind you to fight. I mean, look at the likes of Jalen Turner. He looks great.
Yeah.
Jalen Turner looks really good. But none of these guys are getting proper opportunities. Like, that's why we're getting like Gamrot fighting Sarukian fighting Ismagulov, Gamrot then fighting Benil Dariush, which is, the only moment where someone's had a sort of step up, and Dariush still isn't really in that top echelon, really, as much as I think he should be fighting for the belt.
Part of that is Arnold Allen syndrome of not going, give me that shot.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
anyway.
look, you're right. Part of that is sort of, you've got yourself to blame, but I do also think there needs to be something needs to be done with the Hunter Campbell or Sean Shelby, whoever it is that runs that lightweight division, just to go, we've got to find ways to stop these fighters sitting on their positions and only fighting people ranked around them, especially if they're coming off a loss. They have to take on a Sarukian, a Fiziev, and Ismagulov, one of those guys. And if they don't, they lose their ranking.
Okay.
They drop down 4 places or something like that. That is the only thing that if you lose and you're in the top 5, you got to defend your position against someone from 6 to 10. Like, it's got to be done, because the welterweight division, which we'll move on to in a minute, is another case of that happens. The divisions stagnate because these fighters don't want to fight people below them, because they know they're absolute killers, but they don't have name value yet. So there's not, if they win, then it's just like, oh, you beat a guy that was ranked a few places below you. And if you lose, it's like, oh my God, you got beat by the next big thing, blah, blah, blah. They need to incentivize these big fighters fighting people ranked a few places below them. And you can either do that with money, or you can do that with taking some of their rankings away. And yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. I think it's a real big problem in some divisions, particularly lightweight and a little bit welterweight as well, which leads us on to welterweight.
So can we just have a little look at the welterweight division and at what fights are actually confirmed at the moment? So there's no, is there official confirmation that Leon's rematching Usman in London?
Absolutely not. And I don't think that happens.
Okay, well, this is interesting. So Covington got a fight lined up?
Nope, he is still suing Masvidal.
Right. So I'm thinking, you think it could be Leon Hamzat?
No way, boy.
Okay. So Hamzat's not got a fight lined up, has he?
No, he's apparently been saying there's been fights offered out and no one wants to fight him. That's what he's saying.
Fair enough. Bilal Muhammad, I don't think there's anything lined up for him either, is there?
No.
Gilbert...
I'd love to see him fight Chimaev. I think that'd be a cracking fight.
Gilbert Burns, he's fighting...
Yeah, he is fighting someone, isn't he? Neil Magny?
Yes.
Yep, he's fighting Neil Magny.
Nothing lined up for Wonder Boy. Obviously, we'd love to see a really
He's only recently fought, hasn't he?
Yeah. So as you work, so obviously you've got Jeff Neal and Sean Brady and Vicente Luque in that top 10. I mean, at number 10, Shavkat Rakhmonov, who I think is the one to watch. Like, I don't see him winning the title this year, but no. I think next year it's a very likely possibility.
2024, the year of Shavkat Rakhmonov, I think. I think he's going to really do bits. I think he's very, very good.
Well, I'll just say what I thought.
Should I just say that we both picked Usman to be the champion?
Oh, okay.
And we were both wrong.
Yeah.
Courtesy of a very special Leon Edwards head kick.
Very happy to be wrong.
Very happy that I've never been happier to be wrong.
I had it down that Leon beat Usman in the rematch. I think he goes into there far more sort of acclimatized and wise and confident, and beats him. I don't necessarily think he knocks him out, but I think he beats him over the duration. It's all very up in the air. I think Colby, potentially, if he fought Bilal or Gilbert Burns, I think Colby would win both of those fights. And for me, if people fight him, I can't help but think Khamzat could finish the year as the champ.
Yeah, I think that's a very good thing. I think if Khamzat fights for the belt, so is that your official pick, by the way? You're going.
Well, I don't know, because it's really weird, because there's, as we've just gone through it, there's no booked fights, and there's so much what's happening with Usman, because surely Usman gets a rematch. You know, he deserves that rematch. You know, he held the belt. It must have been in the contract that he gets that rematch. You say Colby's currently in the middle of a legal proceedings with what's his face, Masvidal. So does that take Jorge out the mix of it as well? Not that I don't see him as a title threat, but there's that backstory with Leon, and I think if you was to get Leon Masvidal in London, I mean, that would be huge. I don't think he deserves that shot by any means, but as a fan fight, that's huge, and a big earner for Leon Edwards. But yeah, I don't really know how to call the year. I think Bilal Muhammad's the quiet man of the division that he's on a tear, and potentially has got that fight that he had with Leon, obviously, that finished with the eye poke. There's unfinished business there. He's ranked 4th. Does Bilal Muhammad get a title shot? Surely not before Khamzat. Chimaev's done so much for the division and so much hype around him. Does he fast track to the title shot against Leon? I don't know. How do you see this year's fights panning out?
Sorry, are you sat on a chair?
Yeah.
You sure it's not a fence? It sounds a lot like you're sat on a fence.
Well, such a prick.
See, a bit of a creaky wooden thing under you. It sounds like you're sat on a fence.
Fuck's sake! I'm literally I'm lost. I am lost on this one, because I do think that Leon beats most people in that division. I don't know how Leon Colby would go, and I don't know how Leon Khamzat would go. I think he comfortably beats everyone else in that division. I'd like to see him fight Wonder Boy, bit of stand-up. I think that will be a fantastic fight. It won't happen.
That's never happening.
No. So you tell me what fights you think are going to happen in the next 12 months.
So you've just rambled on for 4.5 minutes, and you won't give a prediction.
All right. Okay. Right. I don't want to say it, but I think if Khamzat fights Leon, he beats Leon.
So your prediction for the end of 2023 is Khamzat Chimaev.
Correct.
Right. We got there in the end, ladies and gents. We got there in the end.
You made me say it. I don't want to say that.
Fence.
I don't want to see Leon
off the fence whiffing.
Right. Now, come on in. Let's see your breakdown.
My breakdown is Kamaru Usman turned up at some event recently with a plaster cast over his hand. I don't think he's going to be ready for March. So I think that they will do their absolute best to make Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal in March in London. I completely agree with you. There's no world in which Masvidal deserves that shot. But storyline, 3-piece and a soda, in the same venue that the original assault happened. It's a fight that Leon can become an even bigger star after that knockout, because he gets the home crowd behind him. Everyone's cheering his name, and it's a very winnable fight against a very high profile, albeit not the best fighter in the division, but a very high profile, if not maybe the most high profile fighter in that division. Business-wise, it makes a lot of sense for the UFC, and it makes a lot of sense for Leon Edwards. Look at what they did with Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping could have fought Yoel Romero, could have fought Robert Whittaker. Who did he fight? Dan freaking Henderson. It's the same type of thing. I think they're going to give him a hometown hero type fight. And I think we could see the only thing that could scupper it is whatever the lawsuit situation is, because I don't think Colby wants to fight because it damages his case, because he's claiming all sorts of issues and damage and stuff like that. So if he fights, it maybe undermines his case. Masvidal, on the other hand, I don't think he's got to worry about that. But maybe if he earns a huge amount of money by being the main pay-per-view star on a event in London and all that, does Colby then get potentially some more damages out of him or something like that because he's earned more money and he's been higher profile? I don't know. That's the only thing that maybe scuppers it for me. But I think they could really try and make Masvidal Leon. What that means is, as much as Khamzat Chimaev does deserve the title shot, I think after Masvidal versus Leon, which I think Leon should comfortably win. It's not a foregone conclusion, but he should comfortably win it. I think they then make the trilogy between Usman and Leon Edwards. And I think as long as it's not somewhere in elevation like it was last time, I think Leon Edwards actually does better. Usman's getting older. Usman will have been out of the cage for a while. And I think what happened in that first fight was Edwards showed what he could do in round one and won round one. Usman then turned it on him and did really well. But I think Leon was really affected by the elevation. We saw Jose Aldo affected by the elevation and other fighters as well on that card. He's not used to that. I think Leon, as a champion that's defended his belt against, say, a Masvidal, going against Kamaru Usman, I think Leon could. I think it'd be a much closer fight. I think it could be a split decision or maybe a very close unanimous decision. But I think Leon can get it done, and I think Leon could end the year having 2 title defenses and still being the welterweight champ at the end of 2023. It's also what I'd like to see.
Well, obviously, now I feel bad, but obviously I want to see that. I don't want to see him fight Masvidal. I don't want to see that.
If it makes you feel any better, if Khamzat fights for the belt in 2023, I think Khamzat is the champion at the end of 2023. I do believe Khamzat is the man in that division until he maybe fights Shavkat Rakhmonov, and then we'll see what goes from there. But the problem with Khamzat is he has to win a fight at 170 because there's worries about whether or not he makes the weight again after what happened with Nate Diaz. You cannot put Khamzat in the main event title fight in London or whatever when you're like, well, last time he was 178. Imagine if they go, we're going to give the title shot to Khamzat. He rolls in at 176 and Leon says, no, I'm not fighting him. Then that's it. It's just gone. Or Leon says, okay, fine, I'll fight him. Khamzat wins, but he's not the champion. Leon's still the champion. That's weird, isn't it? That would look bad on everyone. So I don't think they'll do that. I think that Khamzat needs to prove that he can make 170 again.
Against who? Bilal Muhammad?
The fight Dana wants and has wanted for a long time is Colby Covington. Whether he gets that fight or not, I don't know, because of the whole lawsuit thing. And because Colby probably I don't want to fight Chimaev. Why would I want to fight him? So I would love to see Colby versus Chimaev. I think that's a good fight. I think Chimaev wins it. I think that fight probably won't happen, though. I think Colby avoids that fight. And I think that maybe they might make the Bilal Muhammad fight. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think Bilal Muhammad is actually a really tough fight and could be a really great fight for both of them. I think there's a lot to be gained. If Khamzat beats Bilal Muhammad, I think the hardcores know, wow, that's probably been his toughest fight to date. And if Bilal were to somehow beat Khamzat, you go, stick this man at the front of the queue. He deserves to fight for the belt. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I think Leon versus Masvidal. Let's make Chimaev versus, if they can't do Colby, which I think they can't, then Chimaev versus Muhammad. Then Usman comes back and deserves an immediate rematch when he's fit and healthy. Leon versus Usman. I think Leon wins that, stays the champ. And in 2024, Leon versus probably Khamzat Chimaev. And that could be a really tough one for Leon.
All right. Middleweight. So we're currently, I don't suppose any of us predicted that Alex Pereira was
absolutely not.
The champion.
We both went Izzy. Alex Pereira, I don't think was even ranked
Mm.
He was not a ranked fighter, I don't even think, when we were making these predictions last time.
That's insane, isn't it? What a year.
Insane, isn't it? Like, I can't remember his first fight of the year, but then he fought Strickland and then obviously Adesanya. Wow. What a year for him. He's probably the fighter of the year. We didn't do an awards thing, but I think Alex Pereira probably would have been my fighter of the year. I think 3 wins and he wins the belt in quite spectacular fashion as well, off of a pound for pound great.
Undeniable. Undeniable.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, the rematch between Pereira and Adesanya hasn't been booked yet. I don't know when it will be booked for, but there's a high possibility that it won't be booked until the second quarter of 2023. Alex Pereira is huge for the division, struggles with the weight cut. I think it's possible that he defends the belt only once this year, which means all he's got to do is fight Izzy again and beat him.
Am I right in saying Izzy's sort of taking a bit of time out?
He might do a little bit, yeah, but I do think that those two fighting each other again in, say, May is probably what would happen. And then that only gives Pereira 7 months again to fight again. He could fight in December, something like that. It's very possible. But equally, I think it's not, I think what would happen, I think it all depends on how the rematch goes down. If Pereira wins the rematch, I think it's possible he doesn't defend the belt again this year and stays champion. If Adesanya wins the rematch, then I think they go straight to a trilogy, and it does happen this year, which gives Pereira another chance of winning the belt. And I've been talking a lot about size during this episode, and I just struggle with how massive Pereira is. I mean, on paper, you could say that Robert Whittaker and even Marvin Vettori have got the skill set to beat Pereira. Their takedowns, their wrestling is way better than Adesanya's is. And Adesanya was able to take Pereira down and do well against him. So those guys have got the skill sets to beat Pereira for sure. But he's so big, one shot, and that's it, lights out. And they haven't got the striking acumen and the striking defense of an Adesanya. They're not as tall and as long as that Adesanya. I can see Pereira smashing both Vettori and Whittaker if they can't get their hands on him constantly. And I can see Pereira beating Adesanya again. And I can see Pereira losing against Adesanya, fighting in a trilogy fight, and then has got every opportunity to knock him out again. So I just think, as much as I don't know which way this is going to go, the person who's got the most opportunity to remain champion or be the champion at the end of 2023 is Alex Pereira. So my pick for champ at the end of the year is going to be him, and still.
I don't think Alex Pereira's next fight is Adesanya.
Interesting.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Izzy fancies it. Like, I think.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Like, he's his fucking kryptonite, mate. Like, you know, it must eat him up. You know, like, however good he was doing in that fight, that power must just be like, fuck's sake. Like I thought I had him beat. And it's like, I don't think, I'm sure I heard that Adesanya wanted some time out. Like,
yeah, he might have done, but I don't know, like, how long really he like, when he says time out, it could just be like a month away from the gym, then gets back to it. I don't know.
I think Alex Pereira's next fight will be Robert Whittaker.
Wow.
And I think Robert Whittaker wrestles the fuck out of him.
Very possible.
Don't necessarily think it'd be an exciting fight, but it'd be a dominant fight, and he'll win that. And then I think at the end of the year, Robert Whittaker fights and beats Israel Adesanya and has the belt.
Oh, you come out with some absolute corkers today. I can't wait to listen to this back in a year. Fucking hell. I mean, the Volkanovski beating Islam and then losing to Poirier.
Yep.
that takes the biscuit. It really does.
I'm telling you, mate, it's a big year for Bobby Knuckles.
But fucking hell, big year for Bobby Knuckles as well. Jesus. I don't know. I can totally see a world in which Pereira fights Whittaker and loses, and Whittaker wins. I do think the size of him is just so scary, though, man. Look, it looked like a light heavyweight fight in a middleweight when Pereira fought Adesanya.
Mm-hmm.
When Pereira steps in there with Whittaker, it's gonna be a light heavyweight versus a welterweight, and I just don't see. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Whittaker win. I'm a big Whittaker fan, but I just think one good shot from Pereira and it's lights out for anyone, of that size in that division. But then to beat Adesanya, the guy that's had his number twice, that's a big call, Stu Whiffen. I mean, yeah, I can't. I think Adesanya will never lose to Robert Whittaker. I don't see that happening.
But you think that Pereira will never lose to Adesanya?
No, I don't think that. I think Pereira could lose to Adesanya, but if he does, then they make the trilogy fight and they could make that this year, giving Pereira another chance. Because I think those two are quite 50-50. As much as Pereira has beaten him on like all three occasions, in their second kickboxing fight, I mean, that was super close. Adesanya could have finished him, but then he got finished. There was their first fight that I think some people think was a dodgy decision and Adesanya should have won that. And then in a fight we just saw, give it however long, I don't know how long was left in the fight, but Adesanya was on his way to winning that fight on the scorecards and Pereira pulls that knockout out. Yeah. And it was a knockout that I think was a good stoppage, but equally Adesanya wasn't down and out. He was still on his feet. He was still trying to move. I think it was a good stoppage, but I think Adesanya can definitely beat Alex Pereira. But we also know Alex Pereira can beat Adesanya. So I think if the trilogy happens, again, that's what I'm saying. I think Pereira has every chance to keep to either retain or win back the belt.
And what we're looking at, I know that fighters fight far less often than maybe previous years. So we focus purely on the top three names in the division. We just see Jared Cannonier beat Sean Strickland. So Cannonier's at 3. He's got a loss to, who did Cannonier lose to? Izzy. Yes, he lost to Izzy, didn't he?
Yeah, Cannonier's lost to Izzy.
And
Whittaker as well. He's lost to Whittaker before.
And we've also got Marvin Vettori, Blom Brunson, and obviously Secret Juice. So, whether Paulo Costa's going to be able to make weight, we're talking about who will make him weight. I mean, we don't know what.
Well, he was supposed to fight Whittaker, but the fight got cancelled. There's contract problems. Apparently, Paulo Costa's on the last fight of his contract. Maybe he's looking for a way out, wants to go to like the PFL or something. I don't know. But
go over there and fight Jake Paul.
Yeah, you see Jake Paul fight someone his own size for once. Yeah. So if you're not aware of what we're talking about, we could maybe do this on another episode. But Jake Paul has signed a contract with the PFL to fight not in their seasons, but in these kind of super fights. And the first person he's called out is Nate Diaz. He wants to fight him once in a boxing match, and then 6 months later in an MMA fight. So if the money's right, if they can give him enough money, I'm sure Nate Diaz would take that. But again, it's Jake Paul fighting people that will be a stone lighter than him, at least in the cage or the ring or whatever. I'd love to see him fight someone his own size.
His own age as well.
Yes, but there you go. It's, age-wise, when it comes to fighters like Nate Diaz that have only just left the UFC, whatever, fine. But fight someone your own size.
So what do we see coming from, like, what are we going to see happening around those sort of, Brunson's, Vettori's? Like Marvin Vettori's always a dangerous fighter. I don't see him being a champ this year at all. But he's a legit beast. Like, what are we going to see from him?
Yeah, he's a good fighter. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in that middleweight division that aren't that great, but are okay because the competition around them isn't amazing. I think the people to really look out for in that division, again, they won't be getting title shots this year, but the people who could create some buzz going into 2024, I think, are people like Andre Muniz, who hasn't fought for a while. He might have a fight lined up. I'm not exactly sure. I'd like to see if he had a fight lined up. But yeah, I can't see if he's got a fight lined up, annoyingly. But he had a great win. His last fight was against Uriah Hall back in July. He finished him off pretty easily.
He's fighting Brendan Allen.
Brendan. So again, that's
February.
the thing. So Andre Muniz is in one of these positions where no one wants to fight him because he's very, very good. And so he's now fighting an unranked guy. He's ranked 11th. He should be fighting a Jack Hermanson. I know Jack Hermanson's just fought against Roman Dolite, but he should be fighting one of these top guys. He should be fighting Derek Brunson. He should be fighting Marvin Vettori. I think Marvin Vettori, who's he had a fight confirmed against? Is it Roman Dolite? Has that already been booked up, even though Dolite only fought recently? I'm not sure. I feel like that's out there. Dricus du Plessis is another one that could do well. But I think Nasruddin Imavov, who's fighting Kelvin Gastelum, is another one to look out for. So I think there's this young crop of middleweight contenders coming through, like your Muniz, Nasruddin Imavov, and maybe Roman Dolidze as well, that I think could do bits and be looking at potential title shots in 2024. As long as they get the right matchups, the matchmakers have got to make sure that these young guys can fight people ranked ahead of them.
He is. Dolidze is fighting Vettori in March.
So that's a good one. I mean, Dolidze did a really good job over Jack Hermansson on short notice. If he can do something to Marvin Vettori, that puts him right up there and puts the division on notice. But again, I think at the moment for this year, there's only 3 people in title contention. That's obviously Pereira, the current champ, Adesanya, because he deserves a rematch, and Robert Whittaker, because he's been the second best in the division for a long, long time until Pereira started making moves. So I think it's the 3 of them this year. I don't see anyone else really getting close to a title shot this year, unless there's some kind of fallouts and last-minute stuff going on.
Well, you never know what happens in this division because all sorts of madness can happen, like which has happened in the light heavyweight division.
Yes, I mean, madness exacerbated by you putting on the WhatsApp group some fake news. Do you want to confess to your crimes, Stu Whiffin?
I don't. Someone sent it to me. Someone sent it to our Instagram, and I was like, "Oh my god, no way!" And they said that Glover Jamal Hill isn't happening now. It's now going to be Anthony Smith, Jamal Hill. That's right, isn't it?
Yes. There was a literally an MMA fake news kind of like Twitter site that for a laugh creates all sorts of nonsense. And Stu Whiffen fell for it, sent it to the group. I didn't check it properly because I trusted Stu to know what he was talking about.
Throw me under a fucking bus.
Yeah,
you believed it.
Yeah, I did. That's what because I trusted you. I trusted you with it, and now I know better. But I was writing a frigging essay about this division is all over the shop. Just do an 8-man tournament, which I still would like to see, to be fair. How can you go from how can you go from Glover versus Yuri to Ankalaev versus Jan to that being a weird draw, and then you go Glover versus Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill brings in Anthony Smith, who he was supposed to fight 2 months later to help him prepare for Glover. And then Glover gets injured and you throw in Anthony Smith against Jamal Hill for the belt. Absolute, if that's true, that is absolute crazy nonsense and needed an essay. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it wasn't totally true. Yes, all the other crazy things happens. If you've been living under a rock, we did have Yuri having what Dana White described as the worst shoulder injury he's ever seen in the UFC. So it was Glover versus someone. Glover decided he'd only fight Yan, not Ankalaev on short notice. The UFC said, no, it has to be Ankalaev. Glover said no. So they made Yan versus Ankalaev. That ends in a draw. And then they make Glover versus Jamal Hill for this month now in Brazil. What a crazy, crazy, crazy turn of events. It really does highlight just kind of where that division is at. It's a bit rudderless.
The fact that they said that Jamal Hill got the call. Sorry, full name. Former guest of the show, Jamal Hill got the call
right.
As they were announcing the draw. I mean, that's a bit grotty. I think if you was Ankalaev, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that was a knee-jerk fuck you to him saying, I don't want to find this organisation. I don't know. But that felt unfair. It's a weird one. I mean, props to Jamal Hill. I mean, deserves his shot. Deserves a shot. He's had a
why not?
Apart from the loss to former guest of the show, Paul Craig has been on a bit of a tear, and it's such a shame what's happened to Yuri, because we were seeing a new breed of champ, and we were seeing, we saw such a great fight with him and Glover last time. I'd love to have seen a rematch there. I'd love to, Yuri's a fantastic character as well as a fighter. He looks like something from a computer game. Love watching him fight. I think for the purposes of this episode, I'm going to take him out of the mix for the year.
Okay.
Do
you want me to just say quickly what we thought for last year?
Yeah.
So last year we both picked Yuri, and had he not vacated and just got off injured, we'd have actually been all right. But because he's so honourable and he vacated, we no points for either of us because we both picked Yuri. So yeah, that shoulder injury messed that up. But yeah, so this year, what's your prediction for the light heavyweight division? And I don't think you necessarily need to take Yuri. I haven't picked Yuri, but I don't think you necessarily need to take Yuri out, because he could be back in 6 months, and his first fight back will probably be for the belt. So what are you thinking?
It's so hard, Blake, to write off Glover.
Yeah.
Who gave him a chance against Yuri, and look what he done. He looked great.
People were giving him a chance against Yuri because he's got that skill set that also could cause Jamal Hill all sorts of problems. His grappling is second to none. He's got a head like a boulder. I don't feel like you can really knock that man out. But yeah, go on. So are you thinking Glover finishes the year as the champ?
No, I think Glover beats Jamal Hill. Right?
Yep.
I think he defends it against Ankalaev and loses it. I think Ankalaev beats Glover. And I think as we go into 2024, Yuri will fight Ankalaev and beat him.
So, but for the purposes of
Ankalaev
at the end of 2023, I have gone the same.
Oh, really?
I've gone slightly differently in terms of how it gets there, but basically, I've gone for Ankalaev. I don't know who's going to win out of Hill and Glover. I think Hill hits really hard. I do think Glover has got the opportunity and the possibility of taking him down with relative ease and keeping him there.
And as much as I love former guest of the show, Jamal Hill, I'd love to see Glover win the belt.
Yeah, it would be nice. I think, here's the thing. Here's the other thing I want to point out. I predicted, we both predicted Yuri to be champion at the end of 2022. We were both wrong. But I predicted on the same show that at the end of 2023, Magomed Ankalaev would be the champion. And I want to honor that, because if I can say I predicted someone 2 years in advance, I think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to stick with that. But I do think if Hill wins against Glover, it's sort of open season. Anyone could fight Hill next. You just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how long Yuri's going to be out for. This shoulder injury apparently is really, really bad. So it could be Ankalaev. I think Ankalaev might rematch Jan or face a Rakic or someone like that in a number one contender fight. I think he deserves a number one contender fight because a lot of people did think he beat Jan Blachowicz. So I think Ankalaev goes into another number one contender fight potentially. And we see Hill versus Glover. If Hill wins, I think Ankalaev will fight Hill and win. If Glover wins, the problem is Yuri. Because if Yuri comes back quick enough, I think Ankalaev's going to be shoved on the back burner because everyone is going to want to see Glover versus Yuri again. Glover's old now. He's only got a couple of fights left in him. If he beats Hill and then can wait 6-7 months and fight Yuri because Yuri's finally back, that's it. That's the fight that they'll make because everyone knows how amazing that first fight was. That fight will sell, in which case Ankalaev will just get shoved back a place or two and won't get to fight for the belt this year. So I'm sticking with Ankalaev because I do like the idea of picking a champion 2 years in advance. But I can really see a world in which Ankalaev isn't able to fight for the belt this year because Glover beats Hill and then Glover takes on Yuri in August or September or something like that. And then there's not a title defense after that this year. So, yeah, I think it's a tricky one, but I'm going to stick with Ankalaev. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ankalaev doesn't get to fight for the belt this year. But when he does, I think he will win it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Right. On the same page there.
The last one.
Mm-hmm.
Heavyweight. Last year, I went Cyril Gane. You said Francis Ngannou. So another win for Stuart Whiffen. Absolutely fuming, I am.
Love it.
This has been one of the trickiest to pick for predicting in 2023 because I think there's so many variables that we don't know what's going on with John Jones. We don't know how he's going to look as a heavyweight. We don't know what Ngannou's going to be like after the knee surgery. Tom Aspinall's out injured. What's going to happen with Gane, Curtis Blades? Sergey Pavlovich is coming into the equation now as well.
Stipe? What's Stipe doing?
What's Stipe going to do? Like, there's so many things that we just don't know about. Personally, I think Ngannou Jones happens in March. We had Adam Catterall on the show a little while ago. He alluded to the fact that he thinks that will happen, and he thinks it will happen within the first, say, 3-4 months of the year. So I trust Adam. I think that fight will happen. Ngannou versus Jones. That fight really, in my head, could go either way. I think Ngannou's power will be a different level. Jones has never experienced anything like it before. However, Jones's wrestling is probably better than anything Ngannou's fought before. I mean, you could argue Curtis Blades, but Ngannou's just absolutely smashed him. And I think Jones's fight IQ is really good. So I can really see that fight going either way. We don't know what heavyweight Jones is going to look like, how he's going to deal with that extra weight, how he's going to deal with being hit by that extra weight.
That's the unknown. Like, what are we going to see? And it's been a long time.
It's been a long time as well. Yeah.
But then we also, how serious was Ngannou's surgery? Like, is he going to come back 100%? You don't know. Oh, yeah, I don't know. You look at... I don't know.
I'm really not confident in the person I've picked. But I do think that other than Curtis Blades, everyone else that's potentially in for a title shot or in and around that title picture, Pavlovich, Ngannou, Cyril Gane, I think Jones' ability to wrestle nullifies all of them. And I think he's not just someone that holds you down. Jones has got the ability to finish you with jiu-jitsu, to ground and pound you and make you tired so that you come out for that second round or whatever, and there's not as much pop on your punches. As much as it...
You keep saying John Jones is, John Jones was. We don't know.
We don't know, but we don't know for sure. You're absolutely right. But despite all the PED asterisks we want to put on it, I do think Jones is still one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah,
and
100%.
because of that, and again, I'm not confident in this pick at all. I think Cyril Gane could do really well against Jones striking, but I think Jones's wrestling trumps him. Ngannou, that power's unbelievable. He's only got to get touched once and he's out. But Jones's wrestling can nullify him. Possibly the same with Pavlovich. Curtis Blades is the only person I think Jones can't out wrestle. But Jones, I think, should be a way better striker and way more intelligent and tactical in the way he approaches the fight. It's just that we don't know what Jones is going to be like when he rolls into the cage at 260 pounds or whatever. We just don't know. So, yeah, I'm going to go with John Jones at the end of the year. It slightly pains me because anyone that's been listening to this podcast for a while knows that I'm not a huge fan of John Jones's outside of the cage antics, the accusations and allegations that have been kind of levied against him. I'm not a fan of that. But I do think if he fights for the belt in March against Ngannou and he follows that Stipe Miocic in their first fight type game plan, I think he can do that to Ngannou, make it a boring fight, but win it. And then his second fight could be against Cyril Gane, and he could out wrestle Cyril Gane quite easily and get the win there. But again, I think Gane is phenomenal. I picked Gane to be champion at the end of this year. I really rate Gane, and I think had he planned for Ngannou to use wrestling, he would have done better at stopping the takedowns and doing well against Ngannou. But I think what surprised him was that Ngannou's not really done that before. I think Gane is a future champ. I think he could do really, really well. But I think Jones's ability to out wrestle these guys will be the thing that gives him the belt and makes him retain the belt at the end of the year. But I'd be very happy to see Ngannou knock him out or Gane outpoint him or any of those things. But I'm going to go with Jones.
Okay, so some fights I think will happen. I think Curtis Blades beats Cyril Gane.
Okay.
I think Tom Aspinall comes back and wrestles the hell and BJJ's the living shit out of Pavlovich.
Okay.
And then I think that leaves you a couple of fighters. It leaves you Blades probably will get the nudge because he's got that, if you want to call it a win. A winner is a win, I suppose, over Tommy Aspinall. I've not really factored Stipe into it because he's been quite quiet and there's not a lot of talk of him. I think we see John Jones come back, look relatively good for maybe a round and a half, and people are like, oh my God, John Jones is back. This is so exciting. And I think we see somebody that has never fought at that weight start to realise that all of the things that made him what he is revolved around his size, not the size he's fighting at now. There's ring rust, and he's also never been hit as hard as he's going to get hit by Francis Ngannou. And I think Francis Ngannou knocks him out and stays the champ this year. I think Francis only fights once this year, and it's against John Jones.
Very possible, very possible. Ngannou's not been the most active recently, obviously injuries and stuff like that. I think that's very possible.
And are we right? There's only one fight left on Francis's contract.
No, there's. I mean, technically, I think Francis is out of his contract. He's currently out of his contract, but the UFC are trying to make it work, and it looks like it will work. So Francis will have a new 4-5 fight deal or whatever with the UFC, where he's getting paid really good money. I mean, Francis is no spring chicken now either. I think he's got to be. Is he about 36? I don't know. How old is Francis? We'll have to work this one out.
Well, John Jones is 35.
Is he? Yeah, I mean,
and also let's look at John Jones as well. And if we just cast our mind back to his last fight at the very beginning of 2020, very average performance against Dominic Reyes.
Yes, and you could definitely make an argument that Reyes won that fight.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think Jones mentally was sort of checked out. I think he was fighting these light heavyweights and just not bothered anymore, really. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily anything to go by. It could be because he struggled with Santos. He struggled with Reyes. Neither of them are world beaters. But John Jones is John Jones, man. He finds a way to win. He's got an awkward style. The way he kind of does that. What's that kick called to the knee that he does?
Oblique,
A lot. He does
kick.
that oblique kick. That's it. Yeah, he does that a lot to kind of like stop everyone's rhythm. I don't know. Will he have longer limbs?
Stop people's careers. It's a fucking horrible kick.
Yeah, it's a bad kick, but it's legal.
It shouldn't
It's
be.
legal. And yeah, he does that a lot. I don't know, man. He's had a lot of preparation time. Yes, there'll be ring rust, but he's had a lot of time to get used to being that weight. If he's training smart, then he's been sparring 5 rounds. And he's the real deal, man. This again, I know the PED infractions and all the other shit that goes on with Jones, which I'm not a fan of, but that man is one of the best fighters we've ever seen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
if you look at Dominic Reyes, Santos, Anthony Smith, and the, I guess maybe can't really count the. He did fucking finish Gustafsson, but them last 3 fights, Smith, Santos, and Reyes, none of them were exciting fights.
No, but was that a mental thing? Like, was
why are we making excuses for John Jones? Like, it's a mental thing. Like, why is he not? Is he not? Is he in a
well, he won those
now?
fights.
We don't know. He did, yeah, but like they weren't exciting, and they didn't look like they were. Like you say, a lot of them like weren't well beaters, and he didn't look like an untouchable champ in any of them fights. Like you say, I thought
Anthony Smith, I think he did. From what I remember, he dominated Anthony Smith, and then obviously landed that slightly dodgy illegal knee. And I think the Anthony Smith fight was like he was piecing up Anthony Smith. So that was quite a dominant win, I think. But Santos definitely not dominant, and Dominic Reyes definitely not dominant. If anything, you could make an argument that Reyes won that fight. I don't know, man. I mean, the other thing was Jones struggling with the speed of some of these guys? Like Santos came up from middleweight. Reyes was quite kind of young and sprightly on his toes, moving around a lot. Ngannou's not that guy. Ngannou smashes you with power, but he's not on his toes. Cyril Gane is that guy. Cyril Gane could cause you a lot of problems. But again, Cyril Gane showcased in that Ngannou fight that he's got a big hole when it comes to like takedown defense and good grappling. And that's where Jones can really shine. Jones is a good all-round fighter. He's not a knockout artist. He is hit you with the strikes, disturb your rhythm, and then he's got great wrestling and grappling and stuff as well. So I don't know. It'll be interesting for sure. I'd love to see Ngannou beat John Jones. But I think I'm just leaning towards Jones for now. And that's it. So you're going Ngannou, I'm going Jones. So that's it. I haven't been keeping tabs to run this down exactly who's picked who as we've gone on. Hopefully you've been paying attention at home. And
I've got all my notes here. I know exactly where we're at. And
so hang on, do we want to have a quick rundown just for speed? So women's featherweight, Nunes.
Yes.
You're picking. Women's bantamweight, Nunes.
Let me get my notes up. Yeah.
Nunes. Women's flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Strawweight, Zhang Weili.
Yeah.
We were all the same on all of those. Men's flyweight, I went Pantoja.
I went Figgy.
Men's bantamweight, I've gone Sterling.
I went Chito Vera.
Featherweight, Volkanovski.
Correct. Yeah.
Lightweight, I went Makachev. You went around the houses to go all the way to Poirier. I'll never forget that. Welterweight, I've gone Leon Edwards.
I went Hamzat.
Middleweight, I've gone Pereira.
Bobby Knuckles.
Light heavyweight, I went Ankalaev. You went Ankalaev. And then heavyweight, I've gone John Jones. You've gone Francis Ngannou.
Yeah. I'll tell you what,
there
listeners. Jump onto Instagram or Twitter and let us know. Just put the weight, or just put the fighter that you think is going to win that division, and list your fighters, and let's see what you all think, and let me know. I mean, obviously, it's just going to be a big outpouring of people just going, yeah, of course, Dustin Poirier.
Yeah. And tell us whose picks were the craziest. Tell us your picks and tell us whose lists are the best. Stu usually does artwork for this stuff, so I'm putting him on the spot now by saying I think it might be good to put up a little artwork piece on the gram or something where you've got like all of my fighters on one picture and all of your fighters on the other picture, and people can decide whose list of fighters they agree with more in terms of who's going to be champion at the end of the year.
You're desperate for some kind of fucking acknowledgement after I've romped it this year with all of my choices last year. As soon as I mentioned Dustin Poirier, I bet that little artwork thing popped up in your head. Let me just get some affirmation quickly. Just throw it up now. So everyone will be Team Blake.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see all the middle finger emojis coming towards you, Whiffin. All the emojis of fences and middle fingers.
Well,
God, this has been a long one. This
has
good. Yeah, we haven't done an episode for a while, and this is getting close to 2 hours. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to us ramble on for ages.
Absolutely. We didn't get an opportunity at the end of last year. Massive thanks to you all for supporting the podcast and messaging us and sharing it and liking it and retweeting it. Really appreciate it. As mentioned before, like we've done this for a bit of a laugh, and we never in a million years thought we'd end up interviewing a lot of the fighters that we spoke about today, and all of them episodes are all available for free in the back catalogue wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube if you want to go and watch our silly faces making all sorts of chitter chatter with some absolute legends. And you also get to watch things like this where Blake looks absolutely disappointed that he ever started this podcast when I said Dustin Poirier was going to finish the year with a strap. We're on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, so give us a like, love, share and a retweet. And we'll be back next time. Also, drop us messages if there's any fighters that you think are going to do some really exciting things that you'd like to see us chat to. Then we're always up for some tips of the next big things as well. And I think we're done, aren't we?
I think we are. Thanks very much for listening, guys. Sorry it was so long, but we haven't done an episode for a while, so we thought we'd treat you to extra. I don't know, volume, decibels, stuff, words, extra words. Extra words in your ear holes. But yeah, thank you very much, guys, and we will see you next time.
See you soon.
Bye.